We're here today with Judge RENEE Cardwell Hughes. Good morning, Judge. Retired from the Court of Common Pleas of the First Judicial District of Pennsylvania, but as I said, hardly really retired at all, right?
No, retired, this is a unique definition of retired.
Yeah, I should say so. As Chief Executive Officer of the Red Cross in southeastern Pennsylvania, covering Philadelphia and the four surrounding counties, that's a lot of responsibility.
It has been an extraordinary growth opportunity, and truly a 24/7 experience.
I'll bet. And you know what I like about it? I always thought this of you, and now it's being confirmed, that you're one of those people who just loves to help other people who need the help.
I think that's a very fair statement.
Yeah, I know.
I'm driven by the need to make a difference, the need to help people. So I think it's fair.
Well, that's great. I'm happy that you're doing it too.
Thank you.
Can we start back at your early life and talk to us about your family and the neighborhood you came from?
Well, it's very interesting. I'm not from Philadelphia. I'm from Virginia.
Uh-huh.
And it's funny, my lawyers would frequently be reminded of the fact that I was from Virginia because if I was tired, stressed, or upset, I became very Southern. So they knew I was not from Philly. But I'm from Lynchburg, Virginia,
Yeah.
and went to public school in Lynchburg, Virginia, University of Virginia undergrad,
Okay.
studied economics. I am what is known as an Eccles Scholar, which is a really cool thing.
Yeah.
I had complete academic freedom. So I was not held to prerequisites for classes. If a professor thought that I could handle the work,
Yeah.
I was allowed to take the class.
Huh.
So it was incredible in
Wow.
terms of the opportunity to learn and grow.
Yeah, I should say so.
It was fun. And then Georgetown University for law school, and then to Philadelphia.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
We're happy you made the trip here to Philadelphia, by the way.
Well, so am I.
Although I do like the slight Virginia accent. I always thought that was the way that English should be spoken.
Thank you.
Of course.
I tell people all the time,
Yeah.
Virginians are different. They say, you're a Southern. I go, no, I'm a Virginian.
That's an important
It's
distinction.
an important distinction.
Sure. So after you went to law school, did you immediately come to Philadelphia?
I was recruited by a firm that no longer exists, but its leadership still does. Meseroff, Gelman, Jaffe, Kramer, and Jameson.
Okay.
That was my first law firm, and I was recruited to come to Philly. Philly was ideal for me because I'm the oldest of five. I wanted to be on the East Coast, but I also wanted to represent real businesses. I was a corporate lawyer, and
But
DC,
still be sort of close, yeah.
bingo.
Okay.
So I wanted to be able to get home to my family, but have real clients. Philadelphia seemed to me to be a town where there were real people and real businesses and real clients, and it has proven to be that. I think it's the best city on the East Coast.
How about it?
I
I tend
really
to
do.
agree with you. I was born and raised here and never left. Okay, so you were working at the Meseroff firm there and representing corporate clients?
Yes.
And then you moved, I think you had some work that you did at the Blue Cross and Blue
Yes.
Shield, right?
I did mergers and acquisitions at Meseroff, and then left Meseroff to go work with Independence Blue Cross, which turned out to be an incredible experience. At that time, Fred DeBono was the CEO.
Oh, right, yeah.
And he had just bought his first HMO. And no one knew what an HMO was.
Oh.
No one in the legal department wanted to deal with it. Well, I was young and naive and didn't know I could say no. But it was a great entree into the world of healthcare law. And in fact, now I sit on the Independence Blue Cross Board of Directors.
Okay, I thought there was
Yeah,
another.
so I've maintained that connection.
Yeah.
You know, and this is an exciting time to be involved with healthcare law.
I'm sure it is. My
Very
gosh,
exciting.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Affordable Care Act coming out and everything.
And the opportunity for America to do what it should do. No one in America should be hungry. No one in America should be without basic health care. You shouldn't have that sense of insecurity. There should be employment,
Here, here.
public education that is solid. And, you know, this is America. We're better than everybody else. And I hate to, Ooh, I probably
I
shouldn't
know,
have said
I
that,
know.
but we are.
Yeah.
We are, and we need to hold ourselves to a higher standard.
Yeah, the standards that we've already established.
Exactly.
Exactly. Well, okay, then you were at Blue Cross, and you moved on from there to where?
Moved on from Blue Cross to a company that we all know and may not love, but it's called the Law School Admission Council, and they're responsible for the design and admission
Oh,
administration of the LSAT.
right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a really cool experience. I was the general counsel for the company. I worked with literally the designers
Oh,
of the LSAT,
Huh.
the nemesis of many a young person.
wow.
But it was an incredible experience to be part of a leadership team and to begin to think strategically
Mhm.
about, and that was one of the things I learned at IBC, how to think strategically. Lawyers are problem solvers, and we too often get painted as no, but
Oh,
we're
right,
not.
yeah.
Our job is, if it's legal and ethical, then help the client get it done.
Mhm.
That's a good business lawyer. And those two experiences, Independence Blue Cross and Law School Admission Council, really gave me that hands on the ground to have a lawyer be a partner. But it
Okay,
also helped prepare me for the court.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, how was that? How does that work?
It helped prepare me for the court in the sense that we are a very large city, obviously,
Yeah.
but we're a very small bar.
Mm.
And I sat homicide for the bulk of my career. We're a very small community. We have to work collaboratively
Right.
because all we can give the community is a clean process. We have no control over the results. So we do our best and we give
Right.
them a clean process. But to do that, we have to be collaborative. The DA has to turn over all the evidence in a
Yes,
timely fashion.
I understand.
Motions have to be filed timely. You have to communicate with those families who are distraught for so many reasons
Right.
in a way that is meaningful and respectful.
Mhm.
And I think learning to work with senior management in a collaborative way in a corporation translated into
I
working with
see.
my lawyers in
Yeah.
a collaborative way.
Okay. And that would stand to reason, wouldn't it? Would make the courtroom hum a little better, wouldn't it?
It really did.
Yeah.
Because we were a team.
Yeah.
You know, the lawyers, the prosecutors, the sheriffs, the officers, my court staff, we were a team. And
That
our
is the
job
way it's
was to
supposed to
bring
be.
justice.
Yeah, well, that's great. And I'm happy you did.
It was a wonderful experience.
And the other thing you actually needed it for, too, although you couldn't control the outcomes, neither could you control the numbers of cases coming in. And
No.
there's always more cases coming in. So
There
you
was
had to
always
keep
work
up.
to be done.
Now, can you go through your how you got to the bench?
Well, it's actually a funny story.
Okay.
I did not think I would ever be a judge. Okay,
Uh-huh.
although I have always been incredibly committed to the community.
Yeah.
I didn't see myself as a judge. I had my own law firm. This was when I decided to have my son. I needed flexibility,
Right. Sure.
and so I had my own practice.
Boy,
And
oh
I'm-
boy, do you with children? Yeah.
really need flexibility. And so I had my own practice, and I had one lawyer. In fact, that lawyer is now the newest member of the bench, Giovanni Campbell.
Huh.
He just was elected to the bench.
Well, that's great.
But he was my lawyer. I had a
Uh-huh.
paralegal and a secretary, and so we were a small team.
Yeah.
And I was really excited. And I thought this was so cool. I had my own law firm. This was fabulous. And I received a phone call saying, "We want you to run for judge." And I said, "No, you don't. I'm very happy." And then the call came again. "No, we really, really want you to run for judge." And the first call was from State Senator Vincent Hughes, and I was like, "I'm not doing this." The next call came from Congressman Shaka Fatah. I'm like, "Shaka, stop calling me." And so then he called and he said, "Well, will you speak with Bobby?" Bobby being Bobby Brady,
Yeah.
who was at that time chairman of Democratic City Committee,
Right.
and still is.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't in a position to say, no, I wouldn't go visit with Bobby, right? So he didn't visit with me downtown. I went to his office in West Philadelphia. And so I've got to walk past just a boatload of neighborhood people
Right.
who I had met, right? "Hi, how you doing? It's great to see you." And I walk in Bobby's office and Bobby goes, "Those people need you." I'm like, "No, they don't." He goes, "Yes, they do." they need people who are going to be fair to them. Oh, Bobby. So that was actually the process of
Yeah.
how I decided to run. What was a surprise for me was I thought that, I knew my first assignment would not be civil, but I thought I'm going to go to civil. This is, I'm a
Okay.
corporate lawyer. I'm
Yeah.
going to.
Oh, I understand. No.
Turns out that I get to criminal, and I loved it.
Oh.
I absolutely love constitutional criminal procedure.
Wow.
I think being a criminal judge is just the best assignment ever. And I know that sounds perverse.
No, not really. I mean,
You know.
if there's, it sort of goes along with what Mr. Brady played on, and what I noticed all along was that, you have a tendency to want to help people who are in trouble, and people who are before the criminal courts are in trouble.
They're in trouble.
Yeah.
Both sides of the room.
Exactly.
Because I said homicide, one family has lost a loved one, another family is very likely going to lose a loved one.
Right.
It's very stressful. And so, but what makes it a great assignment is that you get to deal with the most important constitutional questions. You have the best lawyers, the best DAs, the best cops.
Okay.
It is a great assignment. Even your sheriffs are your most senior sheriffs.
Oh, okay.
So you get really good people to work with. And so it becomes an incredible assignment.
Mm-hmm.
Some really cutting edge motions have come through my room, some cases of first impression.
Oh,
It was fun.
yeah. I can see that you enjoyed it.
I really did.
Well, and if you're well organized and you have, good people working for you, then that's the way to go.
Yeah, it's a good assignment.
Yeah. And I know homicide is quite often viewed as, at least for the criminal side, the epitome of where you wanted to be as a judge. So
I was proud of it, I must say.
I guess so. It's really important. But you're right. There are no real winners in those cases. So
Just fairness, that's all you can do.
yeah, and which is an important thing for a judge to say, I think.
I think it's important, and I think that having the community understand that the Constitution is not a dusty piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
It's real. It's living and breathing, and we make it real for them, and we make it work for them. And so it is a very good assignment.
Good for you. And I'm happy that you were given that assignment too.
Thank you.
Yeah. I know you had also some experience in the civil
I did.
side too. But then time went on. You spent a number of years as a homicide judge. I'm not going to say how many. I can't believe that you actually retired, just because of your, youthful appearance.
You are so kind.
And,
Thank you.
well, thank you, but I'm telling you the truth. So, eventually you retired from homicide trials, and you went on to now be involved with the Red Cross.
Yes.
Can you tell me more about?
The Red Cross is incredible. When I first took the position, everyone would say, I gave blood, I helped. And it's like, yes, you did help. But there's so much more.
Yeah.
Because in our footprint, we have 3 to 5 disasters a night. Literally, there are 3 to 5 fires.
Oh.
Very few people do. There are fires every single night within our footprint, 3 to 5. And so every night there are volunteers who get up to go help those families who've been displaced from their homes. The Red Cross is an incredible organization because, of course, we think about big things. We think about Superstorm Sandy.
Right.
We think about, Oklahoma and Moore City, Oklahoma, and how the tornadoes went through. But literally every single day, my people are going out to help. And the Red Cross is cool because our mission is to prepare for and alleviate human suffering at times of disaster. But that's just a fancy way of saying we help.
Yeah.
The Red Cross will be there. And so this is a very broad position. We work with services to the armed forces. We work with international, young people, elderly. We touch every aspect of the community. And I find that really empowering, that we can make a difference.
Sure, yeah. Now, I know that also you published several pieces. I know you had you put out a bench book for to guard against witness intimidation.
Extremely proud of that collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very big deal for me, and it was very personal because I had several cases in which witnesses were murdered.
Okay.
And so the impact of being able to have a judge understand how do you deal with it when witnesses are being intimidated? How do
Oh,
you
yeah.
prevent it?
Right.
How do you manage your courtroom in cases? Because the intimidation can be very subtle. Sometimes it's very obvious, but most times it's very subtle. So it was extremely important to me that we have this tool that judges could use. So that, and it was too another collaboration
Okay.
because it was the court, the prosecution, and also the defenders. We all came together, the private bar, we all came together to say, how are we going to deal with this
Right.
in a way that really works for the court?
I know it has been a problem in the Philadelphia courts in particular.
Yeah.
And you've also written many other things, or been involved in many other publications. And can you think you can list some
Well,
of this?
you know, one of the things that I was really proud of was work that I did on reducing racial disparity in the criminal justice system. And I did that work with the Sentencing Project. And this was another treatise on literally how do you reduce racial disparity in the criminal justice system. Because if you look at our stats, you know, a third of all young men, African American young men between the ages of 18 and 34 are incarcerated. Well, that's incredible given
It
that
is.
African Americans are only 10 to 11, depending upon whose stats you look at, 10 to 11% of the population. Why does that happen? Well, we look at arrest discretion, we look at prosecutorial discretion, we look at how the laws actually impact the community.
Right,
So
okay.
this treatise on reducing racial disparity was really important to me. I've done other writing on capital punishment, and I still teach. I teach at
Okay.
Villanova Law School,
Oh, okay.
and I teach at Drexel University undergrad. I teach punishment for Villanova, and for Drexel, I teach constitutional criminal procedure, a course on capital punishment, and another course on punishment.
Retired, huh?
Yeah, just a little. But what I really want to do now
Yeah.
what I really want to do
Okay.
is I want to write a book, two books really. I think I have a bunch in me, but one book I want to write about women on the bench
Ah,
because we have had some incredible women on the Philadelphia Court of Common Pleas.
yeah.
You think about Lisa Rachette, you think about Juanita Kidd Stout.
Yeah, very
You
much
know,
so.
amazing women
Hmm.
who have made a difference. And so I want to write about that experience of being women on the bench, our stories, because our stories are very different. Because, a male judge never experiences this. My defendants would go, Miss Hughes, Miss Hughes. Because, see, I don't look like a judge to them.
Oh,
So
I
they couldn't
see.
call me Judge Hughes.
Yeah.
But so it was Miss Hughes, and the lawyers are going, Miss Judge Hughes. But Miss Hughes. So, it's a very different experience than
Yeah.
a male judge. And then there are some cases, that I want to write about that really are noteworthy. Pennsylvania.
Can you tell us about?
Some of them, yes, I can talk about quite freely now. One in particular, we had the very first case in which a fetus was defined by statute as a human for purposes of homicide.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep, that case. It was ADA Ed McCann, who's now second in command at the DA's office.
Mhm.
He was the DA on the case, and a young defense lawyer who's no longer practicing criminal defense. But we had that case in which a defendant had killed a young woman who was 9 months pregnant.
Oh,
First case to come down after the statute.
wow.
It was very different.
Yeah.
I also had a case involving juveniles. We called it the Fishtown murder. You may remember it.
Mhm.
And literally in the middle of opening statements, because there were 3 defendants, in the middle of opening statements, the United States Supreme Court hands down the case, which says, it was Roper v. Simmons.
Yes.
Juveniles are no longer subject to the death penalty.
Right.
We're in the middle of opening statements. We've picked a death qualified jury.
Oh.
What do we do? Because
Right.
now we have to take death off the table.
Yeah.
How do we talk with the jury? I mean, we've had some incredible cases. Unfortunately, I've had a lot of cases in which the victims were police officers.
Oh.
Yeah, I've had some amazing cases.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing cases.
It sounds like it.
You know, it was one case, we talk about witness intimidation and what gave
Yeah.
rise to the bench book.
Mm-hmm.
I had a defendant order the execution of a witness from prison.
Oh, okay.
And so what was legally interesting about it was, how did we get her statement in?
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we had to prove that he had had her killed
Oh.
to prevent her testimony.
I see, right.
It was an incredible case.
And it worked?
And it worked.
Good.
Yeah, it
I
absolutely
mean,
worked.
Okay.
Yeah, no. So there have been some real history-making moments that have taken place in trials that I presided over, and so it was cool. And then, but take away the history-making ones.
Mm-hmm.
I think the ones that are most touching
Yes.
are when the families have said to me, you know, thank you for being fair.
Uh-huh.
Thank you for being fair. That was the greatest compliment.
Yeah. Well, in essence, that's why you're a judge, right? Wow. I'm very impressed.
Oh, thank you.
When you, and I just can't believe you had the age to retire, but at any rate, if you compared the conduct of a criminal case today, how lawyers work today and how they worked when you first began, I know you didn't start as a criminal attorney, but do you think there's a lot of difference? I mean, I don't know how much difference criminal law has gone through.
Well, criminal law has gone through incredible change.
Okay.
The sentencing guidelines,
Mm-hmm.
the explosion of mandatory sentencing, other restrictions, Megan's Law.
Oh,
But
yeah.
we've gone through a lot of change in terms of the rules of evidence.
Mm.
During
Oh.
my time on the bench, Judge Mark Bernstein was the leading voice on the rules of evidence,
Oh.
codifying them. We've gone through a lot of change, and I think that is the beauty. And I mentioned to you that I teach, and one of the
Yeah.
reasons that I teach is because it's an opportunity to shape what our future will be like. But what I always say to them is that never let anyone tell you there are too many lawyers. There are not enough good lawyers.
Yeah, okay.
And so the power of being a good lawyer is that we only learn how to do three things. We learn how to write,
Yeah,
we learn how to speak,
yes.
but most importantly, we learn how to solve problems. And I believe if you can do those three things, you can do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So the dynamic nature of the law is that what was relevant 10 years ago, even what was relevant 5 years ago, may or may not be relevant today. So
Okay.
you must be a constant student.
I see, okay.
If you really want to be a good lawyer, if you
Sure.
really want to be a good judge, then you have to be committed to lifelong study. Well, I find that really exciting.
Yeah,
I think that's so cool and empowering. So how have lawyers changed? I think in Philadelphia there are a couple of stressors that we need to deal with.
all right.
When you get to criminal, because we are such a small community, despite the volume of work in
Yes.
criminal, we are a very small community. You learn that you can be an aggressive advocate, but there's a line that never can be crossed. Because tomorrow we're going to work together again.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's a civility.
Okay.
I know that sounds really bizarre, but there is a civility in criminal
Mm-hmm.
that I think is important, and I wish it was mirrored in other places, because we know we're going to be together tomorrow, next week,
Right.
because it's such a small community. So I think that is important, and I'm not necessarily certain that younger lawyers understand that
Uh-huh.
need for civility and respect for one another, despite the fact that you're advocating for different issues.
Okay.
You know, but that civility is critical. So I think the other thing that has changed about lawyers is that now It's not a big deal when they say all rise and a woman walks through the doors.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
or a person of color walks through the doors. It's just
or
not
both.
or both, or both. It's just no longer a big deal.
Yeah.
It was a big deal when I first took the bench
Was
in
it?
1995. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was still a
okay.
big deal.
Yeah.
You know, in 1995, it was still a big deal.
I know, that's surprising to
Isn't
me.
it?
Yeah.
But it is no longer a big deal.
Uh-huh.
You know, and I think one of the good things about the court that is very different from the rest of the world is that in the courthouse, you really are judged by your ability. You're either smart and hardworking and get good assignments,
Yeah.
or you're not, and your
Okay.
assignments reflected.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah. But all judges need to, I believe, remain mindful of the fact that in Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
the people put us on the bench.
Okay.
We're here for the people.
You know, I used to, as I said, I used to write an annual report, and I looked at, you know, a lot of the organization charts now, today, show the Supreme Court as the top box. Well, when I looked at some of the old organization charts, the top box said the electorate, and then the Supreme Court, et cetera, and on down.
It's the
So,
people.
Yeah.
It's the people, and it's not being for one side or the other, but it is about the people. The people have to have faith in the court. They have to.
Oh, yeah, really
They
important.
have to know
Yes.
intrinsically that politics, status, religion, none of that is going to impact whether you're treated fairly
Mhm.
in the court of common pleas.
I think that public confidence also ties into something else that I know that you were involved in, which was judicial independence.
Yes.
So, I mean, you have to be independent in order for the people to trust you. And I think
You really do.
And vice versa. So,
You know, it's a strange process that we engage in because we elect judges
yeah,
and we elect them along party lines.
Mm.
But the minute you take that oath,
yes. Oh,
then you have to stop being political.
uh-huh.
You really have to stop being political because the people have to trust you. They have to know you're going to be honest and hand down the law even-handedly.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you've told us that to be a lawyer, you have to constantly learn
Yes.
and study, and of course hone your practice and other things. And that's kind of like relates to a question I was going to ask. What advice would you give to either somebody who wanted to become a lawyer today or somebody, and you've been giving out a lot of recommendations or advice about being a judge too. But do you think, is there anything else that you might suggest to either somebody who wants to be a lawyer or somebody who wants to be a judge?
I think for young people who look at the law as a profession,
Mhm.
it is a very worthy profession.
Okay.
And there's a worthy profession whether you want to be a litigator
Mhm.
or, you know, a transactional lawyer, or you don't want to practice at all.
Yeah.
I think being a lawyer has made me extremely effective in my new position.
Okay.
Lawyers are taught to solve problems.
Very good.
It's the most important skill that you can have, how to solve problems, how to work collaboratively. So I think that the law is a great education. Going to law school, the way we learn to process information is extremely important. And so I always encourage people to think about the law. But I will say this to them.
Yeah.
I will say this to them. If you are not prepared to be a student for life, if you are not prepared to be fair and seek justice, then you have no place in our world.
Okay.
And you shouldn't go to law school.
All right.
Because,
That's fair.
you know, lawyers are a profession for a reason. And I think we need to remember that and not treat it like it's just some job. It's
Right,
not a
right.
job.
No.
It's a profession. It's an oath that you made to the community.
Uh-huh.
You know, so I do encourage people to study the law, but only if you have that passion to always be a student and to always remember that we really are the defenders of the Constitution. In terms of wanting to be a judge, and a lot of young people approach me and say, I want to be a judge. I would never discourage anyone
Yeah.
because it was, bar none, the most fabulous experience. I would never discourage anyone, but I would ask them to think deeply about why they want this job. It's a very lonely job, and the Court of Common Pleas is collaborative, and,
Yeah.
but it is a lonely job. Okay,
Yeah.
you don't get to socialize with lawyers, and these are the people who were your friends.
Oh, right.
Just a few months before you were elected.
Mm-hmm.
But you now have to think about the appearance of impropriety
Right.
or bias.
Sure.
And so it can be a very lonely experience. You have to be prepared to make decisions, hard decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Half the courtroom's going to always say you were wrong. Okay?
Right, yeah.
A lot of times the media is going to say you were wrong, but you can't be deterred by those things, which is why it's important to be a constant student, because you have to know, I studied the law, I listened, I thought carefully, I thought deeply, I set my biases aside.
With that confidence that you've done these things.
And that you've done the best that you can do. And it doesn't mean you won't be overturned.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to look the community in the face and say, I did the very best that I could. I did not cheat you. So it is a lonely job.
Yeah.
It is a job that requires a great deal of study all the time. It is a job that you do need to be able to withstand public pressure and influence. So I don't think it's a job that's right for everyone.
No, probably
I
not.
really do not. Everyone does not have the intestinal fortitude to look a person in the eye and say life in prison without the possibility of parole.
That must be tough.
Or death. It
worse.
requires a certain level, but even on the civil side, it requires a level of intestinal fortitude. You can't be swayed by the sympathetic plaintiff or the big corporation. You have to focus on what is just based on these facts and this evidence. And it can be lonely. So they should understand that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think people want to be on the bench for what they perceive to be the glory of it. Oh, you're in charge.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
You're not
Certain
in charge.
power aspect. Yeah, you're not in charge.
You're not in charge. The law is in charge.
Right, okay.
But people sometimes want it for the wrong reasons.
Well said, yeah, okay. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to go through while we're here today? Or?
Well, I just want to thank you
Yeah.
for considering me a worthy candidate for an interview.
Oh, of course.
We didn't talk much about the Red Cross, but
Well, if you want to give me some more about the
well,
Red Cross,
it's
I
just
think
that
fine.
it's just that one of the things that I did want to share with everyone is that we as attorneys, as judges, are so perfectly suited to uplift the community. And so the Red Cross is that kind of vehicle that lets us use our skills to uplift the community and make a difference. And so I would say to all of my friends who are retired, there is life after the bench.
Oh, yeah, okay,
And
right.
it is a life that really lets you continue to have an impact.
It seems to benefit you, I'll tell you that much.
Thank you.
And I like the Red Cross, and I ran the blood drive here for years, for about 8 years.
Yeah, and I gave.
Yeah, you sure did, because I took your picture every year, I know that. And I appreciate that. And further, I appreciate what you're doing today.
Thank you.
And everybody that you work with. I know it's a lot of volunteers, and it's really important.
It's a lot of volunteers.
It saved lives.
Special people.
Yeah, and my daughter depended on you on more than one occasion, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for this interview.
It was very nice to be with you today.
Thank
Thanks.
you. I enjoyed it.
Judge RENEE Cardwell Hughes.